Hey everyone, I'm Allie.
And I'm Matt.
And we're from Primal Noms.
And we wanted to talk with you today about the keto diet and athletics. We wanted to cover a couple of the advantages first. So the first one is obviously increased ability for the body to burn fat as a stable source of energy during endurance athletics.
What does that mean?
So as we talked about in previous videos, with the keto diet, your body converts from burning glucose or carbohydrates for fuel and converts over to burning ketones and can use your body's fat that you're carrying with you as energy. So instead of having to consume energy gels or something else during like a long endurance event, you're going to have a more stable source of energy. You're going to be less likely to kind of hit the wall, as they say, when you kind of get depleted and low on glucose.
So your blood sugar is more stable?
Yes, definitely.
That makes sense.
Part of that, when you're competing and doing endurance athletics, when you're in ketosis, it actually furthers your body's adaptation to ketosis. You can think of it as comparing someone who's kind of adding that additional stressor on their body versus someone who's just doing nutritional ketosis but not necessarily exercising. You're going to force your body to adapt to be a much more efficient user of ketones and also generate ketones more effectively in your liver. So you should be more adapted by doing some of these athletics while in ketosis than someone who wasn't.
So if an athlete who is in ketosis takes in glucose, how does that affect him compared to someone who is in ketosis but not an athlete and takes in glucose?
That's a good question. So the ketosis athlete is going to stay in ketosis easier than someone who's just doing nutritional ketosis if they do go outside of their 10 to 15 grams of carbohydrates a day. And that's because they've depleted some of their muscle glycogen, which is where our muscles store energy for use during like high intensity exercise. So that athlete's going to use that glucose to replace that glycogen instead of causing an insulin response where your body's saying, hey, I have too much of this, I want to store it for later. It's going to get immediately used up. So they're going to have kind of a wider window. And honestly, if someone is doing a lot of endurance exercise, it's probably good to actually increase your carbohydrate load a little bit after a workout. So.
Good to know.
So we kind of talked about muscle glycogen already, but it actually improves your muscle glycogen retention during exercise. So your body becomes more, it knows that
it should hold on to glycogen longer.
Right. So your body, I guess, can burn ketones normally up to like half of your maximum power output. So they've done some studies, and ketosis athletes can burn only ketones up to like 70% of their maximum output. Okay. So you can run on ketones for longer and save that muscle glycogen for just those really high intensity spurts of
greater
exercise.
Than 70%.
Yeah, like maybe like consider like the sprint at the end of a race or something like that. So your body's going to hold on to that until it really needs it.
That makes sense.
And the diet also maintains a healthy muscle fat ratio for performance during the off season if you're not training as much versus someone who eats a normal kind of high carbohydrate diet and is training frequently. Obviously, they stay pretty thin and pretty fit because they're constantly burning that glucose during exercise. But if they do take an off season in their sport and they maintain that diet, they have to kind of come back after that. Whereas someone who kind of practices nutritional ketosis while they're an athlete doesn't necessarily have to do that.
They maintain a stable body weight.
Even when they're not training as hard as they might be during competition or something.
Awesome. So it sounds like it's great for endurance athletes or athletes that use up to 70% of their maximum output, or even more than that occasionally. Yeah,
I think there are some disadvantages, which we'll talk about, and one of those is still burn muscle glycogen when doing extremely intensive workouts, and because of that, it can kind of limit your performance in some of those like extreme high output activities. And when I think of those, I think of things like powerlifting, CrossFit, or something where you're going to be going kind of full speed for a shorter period of time, like really high intensity interval training.
That's when it would be harder on your body to sustain higher levels of output.
Right, because you're going to be burning that muscle glycogen during those really high output times. And if you're not intaking carbohydrates, like during your workout, like a lot of those athletes do or someone who's on a normal diet would do, then you're going to kind of peter out and feel a little bit fatigued. So
sooner than you would before.
Exactly. So that's kind of one of the downsides. I think it does fit an endurance athlete or competition type exercise regimen a lot better than something that's
a CrossFitter or a power lifter.
Right.
Is there a period of time that it takes to retrain your body? And say there's an endurance athlete who is not in ketosis right now but wants to go into ketosis and continue training, how does that affect that transition look like? How does that affect their body?
Yeah, definitely. So just like if you were going from a regular or standard American diet, I'll say, to ketosis, you're going to go through kind of a period of adaptation where you're going to kind of feel tired and you're going to have some other effects where your body's changing over its fuel source. So you're going to definitely experience the same thing going over to ketosis as an athlete.
Yeah.
And it's going to take you a little while to get back to even your previous level of ability. So anyone that wants to do that has to understand that you're going to kind of go through a dip, more or less, where your body's not going to perform the same way it did maybe a week or two ago. It can take several weeks to really get kind of your body conditioned to run on ketones as opposed to glucose. And I think for people who are doing really high performance activities or are competitors, it may take even longer because you're already operating at a really high level of proficiency in your sport. So it's going to take a little while to really refine that cellular power plant to run on ketones the way it used to run on glucose.
Right. Well, that's a lot of good things to think about for athletes, and see if nutritional ketosis would be good to implement into their training exercise.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely recommend you do some more research. It's obviously just very high level.
Yeah.
But if you are considering it, I know there's some other resources out there, Ben Greenfield and some other people who are successfully doing it as triathlons and long endurance athletes. So definitely read into their experiences with it and check with your trainer, your doctor, and go from there.
Awesome. See you guys next time. Bye. Killed it.